Carmen here with Melissa's Crafting Treehouse. Today I'm going to share the tutorial or instructions for completing these 3 projects. These were the kits that people earned with purchases in January. So you can earn 1, 2, or 3 kits depending on your purchases. There's more details on my website, so I'll let you go there if you want to know more. Anyway, we're going to start with this first card here. This is the card that we're making today, and these are the 2 stamp sets that we're using, the Big on Birthday stamp set and the Timeless Textures. And this is what the kit looks like that people received. And get all these pieces out. So I'm just going to go ahead and take you through all the steps for making this. I like to fold my cardstock in half myself without scoring. And I've got my bone folder. There's my card base. Next I'm going to take this piece of basic gray and give it some texture. There is a designer paper that is part of this Urban Underground set that looks a lot like this, but when you have a stamp you can make as much of it as you want instead of just having a limited amount with the designer paper. So I'm just going to stamp this repeatedly, and when I do it, it's going to look really dark, but what I find with this is that it will soften in color as it dries in time. So it will actually eventually look like that once it's more dry. So I'm just going to go over far enough to cover up until where that designer paper is going to be, and then I'll do a little bit more on this side. Alright, that's all we're going to use of the Smoky Slate. Now I'm using the Smoky Slate ink on the basic gray cardstock, so it's actually a really light ink on this darker cardstock, but it tested it out and the basic gray was too dark. So then I'm just going to take my pieces and start putting them together. And I've forgotten my adhesive. Coming back. Oopsie. Okay. Taking my snail. Just attaching this. Now this piece of designer paper is exactly the same height as its basic black backing, and it should be exactly the same height as my basic gray piece. Just going to attach that together, and if it's not exact, then I can just line it up on one end and then just snip off the end, which I'm going to do. Alrighty, then I'm just going to attach this to the front of my card body. And I got my vanilla piece for the inside. Attach that later. And now I'm going to start working on my focal piece. Now, I'm going to try to freehand this, but I have found that I really like to use the Stamp-A-Ma-Jig, so I may do it once on one side freehand and on the other side with the Stamp-A-Ma-Jig, just so you can see it. Now I'm justifying the word towards the top of the very vanilla piece of cardstock so that I have room on the bottom for the strip, and I actually got that pretty straight. But if you're not familiar with the Stamp-A-Ma-Jig, you basically just take the plastic sheet and stick it right in the corner there, ink up your stamp, and then stamp it right there, and it's right over the top. And then what I can do is just take my piece of paper, cardstock, put a little bit of adhesive down there to hold it down so it doesn't move, and then I can get exactly the position that I want, and I can make sure that it's straight. So now I stick it right back on there, take my stamp, and I tuck it right in the corner. It's going to end up right where I want it to be. There we go. So now this actually gives me a little bit more room along the bottom for my strip, so now we can decide which one we like better. I don't know, I kind of like it more like straight underlined, so we're going to go with that one. And now I'm going to attach this with glue dots, so I just take my glue dots, press it on with my finger. I like to put 3 of them on, one on each end and one in the middle. Just go ahead and attach it. I actually like to attach this strip to the vanilla piece before I attach it to its black base, just in case I'm a slight bit off on my sizing, but it looks pretty darn close, so I'm good with that. And then I'm just going to take my piece and attach it. And I'm going to use dimensionals on the back side. These are right here. Whoa. There we go. And then just remove the backing. If you stick your nail into the center of it, it helps kind of push up the backing of the dimensional, just in case you need that. And then I'm going to go ahead and place that down. Justified sword towards the top. And now last but not least, I'm going to use some sequins, and in people's kits they got these little sequins already on glue dots. So I'm just going to pull those off with my finger and attach them down. And there we go. All done with card number 1. Yahoo! This card, I actually did it in a couple different color schemes. So the turquoise and then the pink, and then there's another one that's in pumpkin pie. So people's kits varied, just sort of miscellaneous and sundry, whatever you got, you got. So we're using the sale-a-bration So Very Much stamp set. I love this big thank you. It's so fun and easy to make a card with it. And the designer paper we're using is the festive birthday designer paper. So let's go ahead and put together this pink version. So I got my card base already folded in half. I did it the long way this time, so it's 4 1/4 by 11. And let's go ahead and start by stamping the word. Now, because this is on designer paper and because I'm using a wood mount stamp set, I really like the wood mount, I'm going to go ahead and use the Stamp-A-Majig, which I have already set up for myself. Put a little bit of tempered adhesive on my work surface just so that the designer paper doesn't move. And ink up my stamp. I'm going to place my thank you where I want it. It's a little bit tight on there, so I want to just make sure that it's spaced well. And grab my little tool. Okay. Into the corner and then press nice and firmly. It should be right where it belongs. Woohoo! Love it. Love that. I love precision. Okay, so on to the assembly. Just going to attach this to my Melon Mambo backing. And I have put dimensions on the back side. You'll need to do that on your own. They don't come that way. The kits don't come that way. Just wanted to show you that for the purposes of speed. I'm going to go ahead and attach this Melon Mambo piece to its black backing. I really like to use a lot of dimensionals in my cards because I think it just makes them look more interesting and of course gives them more dimension. So there we go for that piece. And once again I have my sequins on glue dots for you. Just figure if I put them in there loose they're going to potentially get lost, so why not? I actually put them on a little piece of extra, what is that, paper from the glue dots when I'm finished using them, so it's pretty handy. Alrighty, next I'm going to go ahead and attach my pink strip. So incidentally, these first two cards are really pretty straightforward. Hope you'll find them that way. The last card has a little bit more detail to it, so hopefully you've thought to fast forward if you didn't need all the detail on these two easier ones, but always a nice thing about video. You can choose how you want to watch it. Alrighty. So I'm just going to attach this to the front, leaving enough room on the left side for my piece of thick baker's twine. And then I'm just going to tie that around the inside. And you'll notice on mine that I actually have frayed it a little bit on the edges. I just think it gives it some fun texture to do that. So I'll just show you how I did that. It's pretty straightforward. I'm going to snip off my ends. And I kind of find that's a little lower than I want it to be, so I can always sort of open my card, sort of bow it a little bit, and move it up towards the top. And then I'm just going to fray it a little bit to give it a little bit more texture. So I think that makes it look pretty fun. Alrighty, all done. Hope you like it. On to the last card, and there it is. I love all these cards, but I'm sort of a sucker for flowers, so I really love this one. This is done with the Avant-Garden stamp set, which is one of the sets you can get through Sale-a-bration. And if you're not familiar with Sale-a-bration, of course, it's for every $50 in merchandise you spend, you can pick a free thing, and this is one of the free things. So it's very fun time of year. Set that aside. So here's the kit that people received. I've gotten a little jump start on a few of these pieces just to make it move a little more quickly. So I have stamped the front, and as you can see, just kind of randomly and oriented those leaves in different ways all around, just to make it look kind of random and fun. Set that aside for a moment. And well, there's your inside piece. Put that over there. So we're going to start with stamping of the focal piece. And so we'll start with this main image. The first one that I did was the Flirty Flamingo ink. Just going to ink it up, and I'm kind of just getting my spacing sort of figured out. And that's the only time I'm going to stamp with that color. And then I need to actually quickly wash my stamp. Coming right back. And then I'm going to take my Peekaboo Peach color. Oh, geez, look what I did. Oh, my gosh, geez. Okay, here we go. Let's do that. Ooh, that looks kind of cool. Oh, there's a creative opportunity there. Okay, you think I'm crazy now, I bet. Okay, here we go. So my second image in the Peekaboo Peach. I'm kind of tucking it in there so that one little petal sort of nests up against the other, and I'm not going to re-ink it. And then I'm going to put this one sort of more straight up and down, and just get that lighter shade of the Peekaboo Peach right in there underneath the Flirty Flamingo. Alrighty. Next, I'm going to take my little stem with my mint macaron, and I'm going to start with this image on the left, and then the image on the right. And then, if I've spaced these the way I want them, I'm going to be able to sort of attach this one to that one and kind of make them connect. Woohoo! I did it. Awesome. All right, next I'm going to work with this little leaf. I'm going to stick one in here, over there, and then on this one I kind of like to cover up where they connected. Just make it look more natural, make sure they actually do look connected. Close those babies up. And then I'm going to take my early espresso ink with this little inside of the flower piece, the stamen or the pistil. Had a funny conversation with my husband about the stamen and the pistil the other day. Anyway, I won't go into that, but I've taken the first ink, inked it up, and I'm going to stamp it off. So I'm going to use the second layer of ink in there. And for all three, it's just so it's lighter and it kind of doesn't overpower the flower itself. All right, so that's it for the espresso. And then I'm going to take my smoky slate again, use that on the last card, with my little speckled images. And I'm actually going to stamp those off. I want it to be kind of a subtle element. Just tuck it right there in the corner. And then I'm going to do a few more here off on the side. So stamping it off, and then a second one down there at the bottom. Alrighty. Super easy, right? I love stamping. It's so much fun. Alrighty. So the next thing I'm going to do is I'm going to actually assemble these pieces. I'm saving the messy part for last. So I have actually already distressed the edges of this Peekaboo Peach piece. And if you look at it closely, you can kind of see that. I'm going to show you how I do it on the white piece. But it's kind of just all roughed up, and it makes it, gives it a lot of texture, and sort of interest to the card. I love the distressing technique. Okay, so attach that baby. And now I'm going to show you the distressing. So taking my focal piece, and I'm just going to use my paper snips. Now these scissors are very, very sharp, so please be very careful when you use them. I have cut myself with these before, and you will bleed, I'm just saying. So please be careful. Anyway, what I'm going to do on this is I'm just taking the edge, it's a very sharp edge, and just rubbing it against the edge of the cardstock. And I'm literally breaking off little fragments of the cardstock. You can see it making a little mess. But crafting is all about making messes, right? Fun messes. Okay, there we go. Side two, and you can see I'm going over it, and then I'm going back over it. And you kind of have to go against the corner that direction, because it's sort of, otherwise it doesn't kind of moves the paper like it did just there a second ago. So you just keep working it. If it gets more distressed, less distressed, you know, you can kind of do it as much or as little as you want. I think my original card wasn't quite as distressed as this, but they're all pretty. Okay, so almost done. You can see all the little fragments of paper on the top there, making a mess. Okay. I think I'm almost done. There we go. Scissors out of the way. And you can see I got all those little fragments kind of sticking up. Makes it look really interesting, I think. So the next thing I'm going to do is I'm going to kind of rough up the edges. So while I'm distressing this thing, let's just kind of make it, you know, really look like it's messed up, you know. So I went going sort of in one direction with the curling, and then the other direction. Just kind of mix it up a little. Just gives it more dimension and interest, right? I think I'm probably good with that. I like to sort of have two edges curled up and two curled down, whatever. Doesn't really matter, I suppose. All right, and then I'm going to put my dimensionals on the back side, and that just kind of adds more dimension. My favorite word. That next to juicy ink pads. Okay, there we go. So there's my dimensionals. And stick my fingernail in there. They come out. The backing comes off a little bit more easily if you do that. I said that before, didn't I? Alrighty. You get the idea. Okay. See my messy workspace? That's why I wanted to do it last. Alrighty. So now I have put my dimensionals on, and now I've just realized I forgot one quick step, which is the ribbon. So now let's try that with the dimensionals on the back side. So hopefully I left enough room on this side so that I could attach the ribbon. There we go. And I like to let the paper sort of bow a little bit when I'm tying the knot, because it tends to sort of loosen a little bit as you release it. So, and you can generally always loosen it but it's harder to tighten it. So okay, my dimensionals are sticking. All right, so there's my little tie. I actually want it to be up closer to the top, so I'm bowing my paper like I did that last time. Alrighty, I'm going to go ahead and attach this, and then I'll snip off my edges. And because I've now covered my dimensionals underneath the ribbon, just put one up more on there, and then I'm just going to put it sort of at an angle, make it look kind of fun and whimsical. Alrighty, and then last but not least, just going to trim off my ends. I like them nice and small, not overpowering. And there we go. And then if I want, I can sort of train my little tails. Hold on to the knot and move them one way or the other. Alrighty. So there we go. I just put my inside piece in there, and I'll be all set to go so you can see them. Now, just like with the other card, I was saying that the ink sort of softens or lightens in time as it dries. So the same is true here. So I just stamped this one and it's dark. And that one I stamped a long time ago, so it's lighter. And the same is true with that first card that I made. So now you can see some time has passed and they actually look about the same. Whereas when I first stamped it, I can't even tell the difference between the two now. Anyway, so you get the idea. The color will lighten a little bit in time, so never fear if it looks too dark. Alrighty, that's it. All these lovely cards. I hope those of you who got the kits are going to have a blast making them. I love these projects. I hope you do too. And if you're interested in more information about my card kit program, just go look on my events page. I've got the event listed every single month with all the details, and I hope you'll subscribe to my YouTube channel, and thanks for stopping by. Have a great day. Bye.